Namaste, namaste, namaste. Hi everyone. We're checking to see if I have enough connection to go live today. Yes. And namaste. Hello everyone. As you all know, Los Angeles is a little bit under the weather, and especially where I'm living is extremely windy. So I wasn't sure if I'm gonna be able to do this live or not, but obviously I am. So today I'm just going live on Instagram. And the topic of today live is spiritual ego. What do you guys think about that? Spiritual ego. So welcome everybody, welcome. Hi Homa from Denmark, everybody who are joining me right now. Great, 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 great. Okay, so today we shall be talking about spiritual ego. And the reason I chose this topic today is because in my individual journey, I've been really observing everything that's going on around me. And the process of awakening, it's a long process. And the most interesting thing is that when I wrote the book, Awakening Not Allowed, which was many years ago, and I have written that book into a semi-trance state, which I was getting download and I was recording my voice, or someone was sitting next to me and they were recording it. It was a very small book, but very intense. And at that point, I have mentioned this part, that spirituality is a spiral road, right? So when I, at some point, come to this understanding that I have awakened, it doesn't mean that awakening or the state of awakening or ecstasy and enlightenment is consistent and is forever. So the path is one day or maybe a week, I feel that I am so awake, I am so enlightened, I can totally see my ego. The ego is very clear, every step that the ego takes. And at that point, I shouldn't be under assumption that this is a permanent state. The confusion is that once you feel that you have been awakened, then you move to the other state, that you go back to sleep, you get confused, like these are two different words. Well, what was that word? And once I have tasted the word or state of awakening, the ego, which is taking me away or pulling me away from that awakened state, will also give me the urging that I want that state. So the other way that ego plays this trick is a multiple way of ego trip. That the ego is telling me, oh, did you see how great it was when you were enlightened and you were one with the universe and everything, and now you don't have that. So let's look for that. Let's push to get back there. Are you guys with me? Do you see that how the ego, this beautiful creature that is also a part of divine, and is the one that the divine plays through the ego for me to see everything, right? So if you and I till now had a bad taste of ego in our mouth, I think we should clear that out. And now I'm at the point that the way I'm looking at the ego, I just laugh and smile. I just look at the ego and every role that it plays, that every time it's turning. Like you have a ball, that this ball is constantly turning, and each side of this ball is showing you a different picture, which in this case is a different identity, different character. So before I used to think, because there was no separation between me and the ego, every slide that the ego showed me, I thought that's who I am, and I identified with it. But now the place that you and I are entering is that we sit back, we don't identify ourselves with the ego. I just sit back during the day and I see the ego is showing me this perfect human being character. And I just looked at it and I said, I see that, great. And then the next minute, the ego will show me another part. The jealousy, the competitivity, the unknowingly. And then I don't get identified with it too. And I said, yes. So what I want you guys to get from what I'm saying is that the ego is this twisting, twirling ball that it keeps showing us different face and another face and another face. The goal is that you and I don't identify ourselves with any of these faces, the characters, or the part of identifying that we miss. Don't identify yourself with any of this, right? Okay, so what is the spiritual ego? The spiritual ego is, number one, there are so many layers to it. Let's see how much we can cover. One part of the spiritual is that we are under this false assumption that once I am awake, this is a permanent stuff. This is a permanent space, and I will always be there. So let's remove that. Spiritual awakening is a windy road, one day or 1 week, or it doesn't matter. I am awake, I'm enlightened, and then I go back to sleep. The second part, that don't judge the process. So it should not make a difference to me when I'm experiencing enlightenment and when on the contrary, I'm experiencing the darkness, the shadow parts that I don't like, right? So we have to be aware to not to get involved with any of this. Just allow everything to show, to come, to show itself, and then to leave, right? The other part is that when I become spiritual, I walk the path of spirituality, the first thing that shows up, before I mind my own business, before I really understand how important the daily practice is, the daily practice of going within, right? So the second part is that once I feel that I am awake, I'm constantly looking for the next, which is when I'm awakening, I understand how important it is for me to find the way within. But what happens is the minute we think we're on a spiritual path, we want to start shouting and getting everyone else to become spiritual, right? So that's another spiritual ego. That when I feel like I have chosen this path to be spiritual, and this spirituality, where it comes from each one of us is different. For some of us, we might feel that spirituality now is a trend. It's been for 20 years, at least in US. It's a new trend to be spiritual, right? So that's one of the spiritual ego parts that I'm talking about. And then when I choose this path of spirituality, before I concentrate on myself and then do the practice, go within, embrace the silent, be present at each moment, fully living life here at this moment, do the practice of thought cut silence, or seeing the ego, separating myself from the ego without any judgment, then I'm rushing out to tell everybody, you have to become spiritual. You have to be spiritual, right? And the other part of spiritual ego is then we start judging everyone else's path. So we are becoming that detective to check and see, are you awakened? Are you awakened or not? Why not? It's my responsibility to become a detective and see who is on a path, which is my path, the path that I have chosen, and who is not. Are you with me, guys? Do you see that? So this is another ego trip or another spiritual ego, that I'm constantly judging everyone else. Have they awakened? If they haven't awakened, maybe I am the one who should start talking spirituality to everyone else, right? So this is another ego trip, spiritual ego. Now, another thing is that when I become spiritual, then I have to make myself looking a certain way. I have to dress up a certain way. I have to act out a certain way. I have to be calm and peace. Choose my words very carefully. My language has to be very fake and loving. Are you with me? This is another spiritual ego. That when I'm angry, if I'm really pissed off at you in front of a crowd, I should swallow it down and I should be fake and use that loving language and even be the bigger person. That, oh, do you see, I don't raise my voice no matter what. And I have seen that on the contrary, that when I'm in a crowd or a group or something, if I feel that something is wrong, I speak up. And I might raise my voice and I might be harsh. I don't give a hoot. I haven't fixed that perfect picture for myself, because for those who are my followers, for those who find me as their spiritual guru, I don't want to paint the perfect picture. Sometimes I swear, sometimes I joke, sometimes I shout. And that's because I don't need to create that perfect picture. So the spiritual ego is, in any sort of way, you are creating some image or some picture. Sometimes I see people are saying, well, if you are a spiritual guru, why are you coloring your hair? Why are you putting makeup on? Why are you so put together? To me, spirituality is about feeling good, about being fully present in this moment. I don't need to dress up a different way. I can put on makeup, I can swear, I can get angry. All of this is possible. So the question is right now, when you see someone as a spiritual guru, do you right away take them under your microscope to see if they're acting out according to what your ego or mind telling you a spiritual person has to dress up like this, to behave like this, and in the moment that you're angry, you have to swallow it down, or you shouldn't say anything? So that's another thing that I see. When I'm on a spiritual path, what I'm doing myself is that how often am I doing the practice? How often am I doing what I'm teaching or what I'm preaching? What I'm mindful of is my day-to-day living is how close to what an awakened person is, what I'm saying, what I'm teaching, right? So I personally like, because I think the universe likes discipline, being organized, being on time. So I am aware that since I'm preaching that, this should be something that I do in my day-to-day. Be on time, be clean, be punctual, and live that, right? And when I'm saying is a spiritual, I feel that spirituality is about wealth, right? So I do my business, I'm diligent to my work, to my services, to everything else. So everything that I preach, I check on myself to see, am I doing that myself? Am I being that myself? So my checkpoint or my checklist or my microscope is not on other people. It's mainly and firstly, it's on me to see how much am I living what I'm preaching, right? How much during the day am I doing the practice of thought caught silence? How much in a day am I seeing the ego? How often throughout the day am I able to catch the ego and tame the ego? Or how often during the day my ego is running out and it gets out of my control? So the first task is, do I live what I preach? Yeah? Okay. So the other part, what I see is spirituality and fame. So most of you guys, you know Osho, right? Osho was a legend. When Osho, at the beginning of his work, he was a different person than at the end of his life. And I watched him during his life path. Sometimes the spiritual ego is, at the beginning, our intentions are really good and right. At the beginning, I feel oneness with everything. So the way I act and behave is the balance. Everything that I do is righteous. Everything that I say is the truth, and I live by the truth. But eventually, as time goes by, one of the spiritual ego or ego trip is, little by little we separate ourselves from that. As I become more famous and more people start to know me, then my ego start to rise up. And if I can't catch my ego would be after fame, to become bigger and bigger and bigger, more and more people to know me. The more people, the barrier, right? So that's another part. And a lot of us obviously had judgment towards Osho. If you're such a spiritual teacher, why did you become so attached to the material world? 29 Rolls Royces, the diamond watches, like all of this stuff, it doesn't fit. If we start, even that still could not be a problem. If I'm spiritual and I want to experience having the best of everything, I still don't see any problem with that. But the minute that becomes a demand of me to have my followers to get me this stuff, to buy me Rolls Royces, to get me expensive stuff, then that is a spiritual ego that's got out of hands, right? And then for some of you who might know John of God, the Brazilian healer, and he became huge. He had that ability of healing. He was doing psychic surgeries and that stuff. And that's filmed and is documented. But what happens as time goes by, if I cannot control and keep on taming my ego day after day after day, what happened? If you saw what John of God, he got arrested at his old age, that he had sexually abused so many women, right? Okay. So the other thing that I have to be aware is that one of the faces that the ego is showing me is fame. And then again, my job is to every day watch out that my ego doesn't get big. My ego doesn't get inflamed, right? This is also something that I'm saying. Once you become awakened, once you become a healer, a master healer, once people start to know you and recognize you, from that moment on, it becomes even a bigger task. I need more consciousness and more awareness not to let my ego become inflamed and start abusing people, whether it's sexually, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally. The other part is that spiritual ego is that I need recognition. And I'm constantly looking out there to see if I am the biggest influencer. This is spiritual guru influencer. That I have a lot of people. How much does that person have? Do you guys think that Eckhart Tolle sits every day and he's saying, did I reach the point that Osho had? Do I have as many followers as he has? No. Because when I look at Eckhart Tolle, he's just a projection of love. He's just so simple. I can see that he doesn't know about marketing. It's not like Osho, who he was so aware and he was like the master of, oh, should I say that or not? The master of scandals? I don't know about that. You didn't hear me. But we can see. But anyway, what is my point? My point is spiritual egoism has, again, many faces. So each and every day, I am aware of that. As day goes by, I never allow my ego to get to the point to say, okay, I know it all. Trust me, this is my pure truth. That as time goes by, I keep understanding that I really don't know anything. At the beginning of my work, my ego was like, okay, I got it. I know it all. But during this past 20 some years, as it went by, every single day, I am more aware that I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. So, what I mean by I don't know anything, remember I told you that story of Buddha? That one day this guy get a chance finally on a fall to walk with Buddha. And it says, Buddha, have you told us all the secrets of the universe? And the Buddha picked up 2 leaves and he said, this is how much I have shared with you. And you see all of these leaves here, this is how many secrets of the universe that I haven't shared with you. And I am at that place today, which I'm thinking, oh my God, every day that goes by, I'm thinking, the universe is so expand and it's so mysterious. There are so many secrets that I don't know. All right, moving on. If the spiritual path, you connect with being a healer, or today we see a lot of people say, I am a shaman, right? Once we reach that point, what I want us to be aware of, the spiritual ego will tell you, you are the one who's doing the work. From the very first time when I did my retreat in Dubai, I think that was around 20 years ago, the first thing that I noticed in my room, it was like hundreds of guides there. And I realized that at some point that I would leave my body and I come back to my body, and I was noticing that someone else was using this, my physique, to speak to the crowd, to do the healing. And up to today, after 20 some years, every time when I do a retreat, I am so aware that I'm not the one who's doing anything. And I keep expressing this. And when people tell me, you healed me, I said, no, I didn't heal you. The universe, the whole consciousness, the God, and you were the one who did the healing. I have no part in it. So another way to me, spiritual ego is that I say, I healed you, I did this, and I did that. And many times when people want to get a coaching session with me, or they're asking for a loved ones, can I do something? Can I heal this person? I never ever say for sure, yes, I can, because I don't know, unless I be guided through my guides that yes to this. I am not the one who's making a decision whether you should get healed. I don't have that knowledge that who should get healed and who shouldn't. And this was a part of my downloads at the beginning. The healing process, it's connected to the universal teachings. So when I want to do a healing with someone, what I do is at the first part, I ask them to share their story with me, to see and to hear the ego mind, how it's translating the story. I know the story that people are sharing with me is coming from the ego and mind. Then I need to get up to the higher level to have access to Akashic record, to see and understand what has been chosen by the soul before that soul has entered this life. And unlike us with the 5% of consciousness, that we want to get healed, we want our situation to be perfect, we want the loving partner, I want my soulmate and twin flame to be in my life, that is nothing. We have to get to a higher realm to see, was the loving partner, twin flame, in your journey? Did your soul chose to meet your twin flame, whatever it is, at this lifetime? And then I have to see, what is the lesson? Yes, you can have the soulmate for you to meet the soulmate, but the universal lesson might be that your soulmate would be the most intense awakening that you could experience. So yes, you might have chosen, your soul might have chosen before this lifetime that I want to meet my twin flame. And then your guides has guided you. Okay, you can have your twin flame, but it's going to be one of the hardest, more terrifying, most difficult lesson of your life. And in that case, if your soul agreed to go through all that beginning, that sparkle of love and that invitation of the sexual drive and feeling the ecstasy and oneness, and suddenly the twin flames start showing the other, is the play of angel of devil. So at the beginning, the twin flame will show itself to you as an angel. Oh my God, how lucky I am. And I have been in that life. I have experienced that, guys. Believe it or not, it's been very tough. So it's just that explosion of love and ecstasy and oneness and understanding. And then after a couple of weeks or months, once you really tasted that love and oneness and all of that, the twin flame will live your life and you'll become miserable. You totally lose your life. Every lesson, everything that you knew till then, it would not help you. So from heaven to hell. I've been there. I experienced that. Okay, so what I'm saying basically is when somebody is asking me to do a healing, number one is what you think you need healing on is not necessarily what the healing should be about. And what I'm saying as every day when life goes by and I see and I look and I contemplate, I see that as human, 99.90% of the time, we have no clue what should we ask for, what should we desire, why are we here. So what I'm trying to tell you guys, when you ask me, can you heal my cancer? My answer to you is, I don't know. Wait, let me go check and read the Akashic record. And then when I go and get access with the help of my guides to open your file and see that cancer by your soul has been chosen for you to learn self-love and stop playing a victim, then I have to come back and tell you, listen, the cancer is not what we need to deal with right now. Let's leave that aside and let's see what has been chosen. What is the lesson? The lesson is for me to have self-love, self-acceptance. Why do I have this shame feeling? It's about removing every layer of my ego shadow. Is it shame? Is it not being enough? Is it looking for validation constantly out there? So I will come back to you and I said, honey, if you want to remove, if you want to stop experiencing cancer, then we have to work on your self-love, self-acceptance. But the majority of time, what happens during my session is that the soul has also chosen a period of time for this lesson to be learned. So it happens that a lot of time people who really, what they're saying to me, they really believe me. And when I tell them we got to work on self-love and self-acceptance, they don't accept that. And I have lost people. Trust me. I work, God knows, during this 20-some, 30 years, how many people I have worked which has issues with cancer and every other things. And when I tell them, we have to understand this is the lesson, this is the class, and I give them guidance to sit in this class, the majority of people don't. Now, the other part of ego, spiritual ego, which I have also went through and I experienced, is that we get attached to the client and to the outcome. At the beginning of my work, when I was getting healings like this back and forth, I would be so attached to this person. Please, 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 universe, make this person to be healed. And I would do all the energy and I would all the work and that stuff. And I was attached to the result. After years, my spiritual ego has learned, although it's very tough, but I have learned to be non-attached to the result. Not only I have to tell the client to be unattached to the result, I also have to do that. Are you guys with me? It's very tough when you have clients who are fans. They believe in you so much and they're experiencing cancer or whatever. And it just makes me very emotional. Yes, me. Because when I have clients who are with me years after years, they come, they do coaching sessions with me, they come to my webinars, they come to my retreat. It's very hard not emotionally to get attached with them. And when I go through this stuff and they feed my ego so much, but you're a shaman, I know that you can heal me. And I see that I can't because they're not willing to learn the lesson. It's hard, it's tough. Because after all, whether I'm a shaman or I'm a master healer or whatever, I am also human. And to not have attachment to the people who you deal with, you love them so wholeheartedly, and be unattached and, oh, you don't want to learn your lesson? Okay, tough. Then you're going to die. Boom. We can't do that. But what I'm aware of today and is always in my consciousness, it is not my work to judge who should get healed and who shouldn't. This is where I really realize, guys, I find out that I have absolutely no control over anything. Are you with me or not? Write a comment. Say if you really hearing everything that I'm saying. Or am I just talking to my ego? Today live is just about me and my inflamed ego. Yes? Where is everybody else? Wake up. Are you hearing me or am I talking to myself? So, it's tough for me to have no attachment because sometimes another way that my ego tricks me is that I want to push people to get the results that they want. Whether it's in financial, whether I'm helping them through fame and walk the ladder up, or whether it's their physical body to be healed. Yeah. I have to be constantly conscious that not to try to push their success, walk them. I have to be totally disconnected from all of that. And this is the lesson, but I'm getting better every day. So every day as it goes by, I am very aware to constantly wash my face and clear my lenses to be able to see the truth. And to see how, like, I have a client that I would guide in every step. This, what should I do about this? What should I do about that? And what should I do about this? And then I said, as you walking up the ladder, be very mindful that the ego doesn't get inflamed, because fame is another ego trap. I said, I am helping you, guiding you in every steps, but at some point I have to be aware to push back. There is so much you can do for someone. There is a line that they don't become totally disabled, that they cannot make any decisions on their own. So I'll have to be also aware of this part. How much guidance? And then I bring to their attention, be careful as you're going up, walking up the ladder, be careful that you're not going to get under that trickster influence of fame and more and more and more. And then I give them this awareness. I help you to walk the step up if you learn to listen and tame your ego and be ready that at every second, if you're going to lose it all and just get pushed back to become nothing, you're going to be still okay. And if you tell me, yes, I accept, there's an agreement between me and you, that I help you to become as famous as you want, to pass any obstacles while you're under the spiritual lesson. And then the minute I see that, no, you're not following up, you don't want to really learn the lesson, I would say I am out. So the other day, I wanted to bring this to my clients' attention, those who get sessions with me, and I help them to resolve all of their issues and everything. I would also tell them, are you okay to tell everyone else that you are being guided through someone else? And if they tell me, no, I don't tell anybody else that I am being coached by you, or I have a healer or something that's guiding me through my way, I ask, why not? And if you tell me, oh, because I don't want anybody else to know, I want to own all of these credit to myself, then I have to bring it to your attention. This is another ego trip. And I would tell you, if you're not willing to tell other people that you have a coach, you have a healer, you have someone that's guiding you through the process because you want to own all the credit to yourself, that's the ego. Yep. And I have to break that. So then again, I have to open up another contract. And I say, if you want to continue working with me, because I'm a spiritual teacher, I am translating the universal teaching, what I want an agreement on, that you can tame the ego to stand and say, yes, I am being guided through someone else. If you're willing to do that, not to call anybody's name, but if you're just willing to do that, then we can continue. But if you want to hold the glory and all the knowing and wisdom and say, no, these are all in me, then I should back up. As a teacher, are you guys with me? Hearing what I'm saying? Yes or no? So, the ego can take me in many, many ways. And I understand that once this power as a healer, as a shaman, when we are chosen for this role, I have to be even more aware that none of this is given to me for me. Therefore, oftentimes, I've been talking that I want to have an ashram. I like to have an ashram for people to come and the family and the tribe and all of this stuff. But it's never the top of my list, because I am thinking people come and help and what should we do or this or that, but it's not the top priority. Why? Because I don't really have personal preference. It's an idea, but I'm thinking, well, the universe will give it to me if it's supposed to come. But even for me, I don't ask for anything. I don't want more. I'm just like, whatever. If it shows up, fine. If it doesn't show up, fine. No, Labi, I'm not on YouTube. I talked about it at the beginning of this live. I live in Los Angeles, and I'm in a part that is extremely windy. So the city of angels, I am at the part of all the angels where it's very windy and it's shaky and everything. So I'm not able to run. I can only go on one platform today. And probably by next week, this shall change too. Okay, lovers. So I talked about everything, all the part of spiritual ego. And you can watch this live. You can share it with friends and family. And generally, you might want to listen to it a few times, okay? And see where and how we see our ego coming up. Maroy, 1111 Toronto, love you. All right, so I'll see you guys next week. Remember, guys, the priority of me is basically how long in a day I am doing the practice. Thought called silence and seeing the ego is not something that I tell you guys to do. Trust me when I tell you. I don't tell you anything unless I do it myself and it becomes a part of me. I love you guys. I have a webinar for those of you who want to be with me, who want to share, who have Q&A every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Los Angeles time. I have a webinar. It's a coaching. It's fantastic. And also, I want you to plan, if the divine will agree, March 22nd, I'll be in Turkey for 2 weeks. So if you want to plan to come and we just live together, we can try that. I see you all next week. Have a pleasant day. Love you all. See you. Bye bye. Goodbye.